It's such a pleasure to sit down with you today. Your journey with
Yeah, sure.
Geviton stands out, not just because you are building hardware in one of the toughest environments for it, but because you have done it with the local first mindset that challenges the norm.
Yes.
What you have achieved pushing forward with sustainability, affordability, and true Africa innovation isn't just inspiring, it's rewriting the rules for what's possible in hardware on the continent. So let's go back to where it really began. So how did you manage to push through the kinds of obstacles that often stop other hardware startups in their tracks?
First, it was really difficult to get started. What we set out to do was to build relationships with suppliers. So we do have local suppliers, we do have regional suppliers, and then we have the global suppliers. So that was the first step. And these suppliers fill in gaps as far as the value chain is concerned. So we do have a very broad global ecosystem of suppliers that we rely on, not just the local ones. Secondly, to reduce the dependency on lead times, we made sure we have more than one supplier for different components. We always have a go-to, a preferred supplier, but with time, we realize we need to have multiple suppliers, serving us with the same components we need for our production, for the production process. Building our internal capacity was really important, particularly when we need to research and innovate quickly. We can do that reliably within our own premise. Then the relationships we have with these different suppliers, manufacturing partners, that enables us scale, with no issues after we are able to validate and prototype quickly. So it's a mixture of understanding who will help you with what, but also a lot of effort to build our own internal capacity.
So even from the very beginning, you were actually working with a wide spectrum of suppliers, including global, regional, local, and slowly and gradually you kind of shifted the focus from global one more towards a local one, right? So it's not like a cut of time, but it's a gradual kind of focus shift.
Yes.
I know that at one point you did try to go the import route and scale fast. Looking back, how did that attempt at the early production stage shape the strategy of Geviton today?
We definitely wanted to move quickly, get someone who can, or rather not say someone, but companies and partners that you can rely on to just import things as quickly and as fast as possible. But what sounds good on paper often breaks in the real world. It looks and sounds cost effective, time effective, but there is some challenges we discovered to a lot of failure rates because it's hard to guarantee that quality assurance when you don't own the process, the production process. Unpredictable downtimes, let me put it that way. And then there is limited flexibility because these international offshore, let me call them offshore partners that we would work with for importing things, do have limited flexibility in what they do. So they do have sector focus, they do have volume requirements, minimum order volume requirements. So all those processes really showed us we should limit our importing to as little as possible as far as the finished product is concerned. Basically, we should import all the raw parts. We should be able to import them in bulk, but all the production, quality, and responsiveness, we have to have it here locally. So that being said, we had to come up with our own design process locally. And just goes back to my previous point, building that local capacity is also just an effort to reduce our reliance on the importation, international supply chain. So it's a matter of striking that balance that it's true we may not be able to completely avoid importing things, but we have to be smart about it, and we've learned to be really smart about it. So our partners leverage on us to have the fastest time to market for the products that we do. And that is what drives the value that we're delivering for customers here locally and also internationally.
When you produce locally, how do you overcome the volume constraint? Because even producing locally, you have to reach certain volume to make starting a production line making sense, right? But given the local demands within certain volume, how do you overcome this?
We can source and produce functional blocks at volume to serve so many different customers with the same designs, with the same production tooling and placement, without the risk of having too much stock. So in many ways, our customers are able to rely on us to deliver them, medium to high volume quantities. While us now, at the back of that screen, we make sure we converge all these customers' needs such that we're using the same components, we're using the same designs, we're using the same, fasteners, screws, and so on. What that does, it enables us to have a very stable way of doing large-scale productions without affecting what our customers expect from us, rather. So different customers come to us, and we would have that understanding and that, to an extent, a prediction of the next 2-3 years of what all these customers are going to need, so that we can converge the kind of parts we use and the designs we use for that. So it's really just a matter of getting that experience and understanding our market, that we may not be able to ship billions of products yet, but we can achieve very high volumes using the same design platforms.
So if I understand correctly, you're trying to consolidate the divergent customer needs, yes, and standardize as much as, yes, possible the process in order to produce at volume.
Yes.
Indeed, very smart move. So yes, once you double down on local, building trusted partnership must have been key. How do you form reliable, yes, supplier relationships locally in Kenya, especially when you just started from scratch?
At the beginning, we didn't have a defined, completely defined set of product lines and, devices and solutions we would like to build. That has been informed by the market. So we are very market-driven. We only invest our time and resources to what these markets actually need. Now, that being said, if I could look at the local ecosystem of suppliers that we have, it has also affected how we design our products. If I could just use a few examples, there are certain types of batteries we can get locally, while for other maybe more complex solutions, we do have to import the batteries. Now, what does that mean for us? It means the effect on our supply chain and supply chain requirements. We would have that separation of the grade of products that we produce, in the sense that we know there is a class of products that we can source almost everything within our local vendors, while the others we do have to import. Now, what that does, it also helps these players, these suppliers that we're working with, help them understand what the market is asking for, because that now trickles all the way down. That market demand and definition trickles through us all the way to these vendors. So with time, they also adjust the kind of parts they make available. So for us, it keeps it simple that our products can be very consistent. But then now these vendors now keep improving their understanding on what kind of parts they need to supply to enable us scale into the market. So it's a discovery process that has taken time to get here. But like I said, we are really market driven. Just understanding the customer is what is informing us, our designs, the parts we use, and then by extension, this local collection of vendors and suppliers that we work with as well.
So once you become partner with those local vendors, right, you are actually empowering them with certain predictable analytics ability as well, because you regularly work with them. You are able to let them foresee what's coming in the next few years or next few months as a supply capability for that. You are empowering them with this kind of capabilities.
The foresight just builds naturally. So yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. All right. I know you are quite vocal also about not scaling too early, as you mentioned earlier, particularly in emerging markets. So why do you think that's such a dangerous move for especially hardware startups?
I'd even just gone to to reveal some insights about the investor space as well. They avoid hardware. They avoid hardware companies, startups, simply because number one, there's a very high capital risk. So it's a very capital intensive business. That means there's high capital risk and fairly long iteration cycle. So I think even without the experience, without proper design, prototyping, manufacturing experiences, the iteration cycles can be much longer. The danger lies right there. Again, you need to build experience and understanding of the manufacturing and electronics to be able to do all this reliably. Now, what that just translates is that it's scaling without understanding the usage and uptake and adoption is very dangerous. In these markets, these emerging markets that we are, reliability, affordability, and support are everything. So a big part of our success, I'll admit, has come from the fact that we are localizing the availability of this technology and these solutions, and that's what is driving the uptake of more smart solutions, IoT solutions. If you scale too early, before you refine any part of that process, you're risking a lot of cost capital. Number two, you're risking reputation. Being able to deliver is a crucial part of having anyone adopt technology, particularly hardware technology. If you don't have that reputation, it's hard for large enterprises, government, development organizations to take you seriously. And having that customer trust is also just as important. So you need to start lean. You need to be very deep in how much you test the technology. You need to validate the technology 10 times over and be able to scale once all this is solidified. So I look back at our story because we started with a lot of industrial automation solutions. So think of quality assurance products that enable them to track their production, batch their production as well. That's where we started. And I'll be honest, at that time we thought that we have a lot of manufacturing companies. All these manufacturing companies will need smart IoT solutions for their production. That's what, over time, that has really changed. If I look at just the past financial year, a majority of the revenue we made came from electric mobility. So when we started, we didn't think electric mobility technology. We didn't really think that is going to be a huge industry. But if you look at us now, that's mostly what we're actually doing right now. So we're building batteries, we're building battery management systems. There's just a lot we are doing in electric mobility that we did not expect at first. So having that ability to really sit and listen to the market is very important before you decide to scale. Again, it's still a chicken and egg situation. The market needs to say what it needs before you decide what to scale. You as a technology provider are not always in the best position to know how the technology will be adopted. Your best bet is to ensure that you understand the technology deep enough and you can adjust at any given time. What the market decides is what you produce for.
Right.
Absolutely.
So even with all the risks, you kept your commitment to local production. What helped you stay confident in this decision, especially when the pressure to take shortcuts must have been high?
Maybe just looking back at the first question you asked, it's that understanding and conviction that we're solving real problems that no one else is prioritizing. Of course, as you've said, and it was also as we've been discussing, it's so much easier to import things. But then over time, seeing our devices being used by logistics firms, manufacturing firms, e-mobility firms, small businesses and large businesses alike, knowing that they've been built by local hands for local realities, has really given us that sense of purpose. So again, being at the privilege where we are able to localize the access to this technology has given us a very strong feedback loop. A feedback loop in that our customers are always just telling us, yes, this works really good. This doesn't work as good. Maybe this needs to change this way, and so on. So even before we get to the point where we are scaling these products, that deep understanding of how our customers are evolving as well has really helped us how best to position ourselves. After doing that, after achieving that, the market gets more confident. The customers get more confident. They now believe, look, we have local ecosystem of partners that these guys, they will produce these solutions for us, but then they will be buying parts from a shop in town, in Nairobi. They'll be buying some, cables from the industrial area that is just in the country. So they also get to appreciate that we have a very good local ecosystem of players that we leverage to make all this production possible. So it's a very fulfilling. It's just a fulfilling reality that we get appreciated more and more every day by virtue of us staying on that purpose, staying on that path. Is giving us, is giving back to us more business and more opportunity. So it's a very symbiotic and fulfilling experience.
I believe this concept of producing locally also deeply align with local economic policy in terms of you help grow local economy, right? You kind of develop local workforce as well. So did Geviton receive lots of local public sector support, or you have any private investor, or are you bootstrapped?
Much as we've proven that the technology works, that local manufacturing of these solutions is possible, there's still a gap in educating all these investors to understand how big the opportunity is. However, as much as we're bootstrapping, there is continued interest and support we're getting from private and public spaces. Right now, there is one of the big development is specifically, let's say, tuned and designed to accommodate a lot of high-tech manufacturing. So that just goes to show that the government and the policymakers have that intention to make sure that we are able to localize our manufacturing. Besides that, we are manufacturing a lot of smartphones locally. One of the biggest ventures, I think they've raised Series B, Series C round, have a local production plant for smartphones and other energy access equipment. So there is a growing public and private understanding of the space and the potential it has in terms of building these economies, these emerging economies to the next scale.
All right, that's good news to hear. Zooming out a little bit, Geviton, I believe, is on the path to become a leader in Africa hardware. How do you see the company shaping the tech landscape here over the next 5 to 10 years?
We're doing a good job. I believe we're doing a good job in, first off, building the local ecosystem, the local talent for high-tech electronics manufacturing, all designed, tested, and manufactured right here. So our vision is to first off break that perception that a lot of people and societies think of Africa as a large market. I'm sure you've always seen this, Africa has more than 1 billion people. There's a very huge market. It's always about, Africa is a market, Africa is a market, Africa is a market. So we see it very differently because we want to break that cycle of imported technology and move now to exporting our own innovations. My personal favorite thing, at least in the kind of work that we do, is that we are not particularly driven by consumerism or an appetite for new technology. We are driven by necessity. We're driven by providing energy access. We're driven by improving our infrastructure. Is driving this emerging market. So the technology we are building is so essential, is so fundamental to society as a whole that we see it being adopted on a global stage as a matter of necessity as well. So that vision is what we have as a company, from energy storage to Internet of Things, mobility infrastructure rather. We know we are at the center of all that transformation, and being a local provider, localizing access to this technology gives us that momentum. Is continuously giving us that momentum to know that we are going to be a very big player. In the next 5 to 10 years, we know we're going to be a very huge company.
I look forward to seeing that. My final question, a very quick one, is thinking about someone young, maybe where you were at the very beginning. What's the most important advice you would give to a builder just starting out in this space?
Don't strive to be perfect. Don't strive for perfection. There is no such thing as perfection. You need to start and you need to build You need to learn and you need to improve. Then again and again, build, learn, improve again and again. So starting small, test fast, get things out there in the field. They might be messy at first. Get feedback from your users, your customers. Be very intimate with them, because remember what I said about us having a very strong feedback loop really has shaped our thinking and understanding of what we need to do and when we need to do it. So users and customers have to definitely have to come first before the technology is developed and deployed. I think as a standard, with any startup and any venture and any endeavor, any human experience that you want to do, there's persistence. A lot of persistence you need to have, a lot of perseverance. At least within the hardware industry, that persistence, that grit is your best co-founder. It's the one thing you need to always have with you. So you really need to know that, again, hardware is hard, but then software is also hard. Financial tech is also hard. All this innovation that has the potential to change humanity has a lot of challenges to it. Overcoming that challenge is what makes the technology work. So technology is only as useful as it is accessible. If it's not accessible, it's very useless technology. And that's why you need, as starting out, you need to make sure your customers get to experience that technology before you can even say, set out to achieve anything. The money, the revenue, the sales, that will definitely come after, but your users and that intimate connection you have with them changes and shapes everything.